What's going on, everyone, and welcome back. So how many of you bought a game, movie, or TV series digitally and thought to yourself, this is great, I'll never have to worry about losing it and having to rebuy it for the nth time? Well, it's 2024 and software licenses have come back up in the news once again, thanks to Warner Bros. And that way of thinking seems to no longer be true. As you may have heard, they closed down one of the longest running internet media companies responsible for shows such as Ruby, Red vs. Blue, Camp Camp, Genlock, and channels such as Achievement Hunter and Let's Play. Of course, I'm speaking of Rooster Teeth. Warner Bros. Has shut down every department within Rooster Teeth other than their podcast. Rooster Teeth had a lot of members-only content, and who knows if you'll continue to have access to that stuff. Right after the news broke that Rooster Teeth was being shut down, it came out that Adult Swim Games was also going to be shut down, and that's what brings us to the current topic of software licenses. The last year has been very unkind to people who have bought digital content. Do you remember Google Stadia? If not, you're not alone. They were an all-digital console, and when they shut down, the 5 people who owned a Stadia were wondering what was going to happen to the content they had purchased. Now, I'm not a big fan of Google, but to their credit, they offered refunds to everyone who had bought the hardware and any software, essentially refunding people's entire libraries. I give them massive props for that. The next big thing that happened was on December 4th, 2023. Warner Bros. Discovery said they were going to pull their content off of PlayStation. That would have meant that if you had bought anything from Discovery on the PlayStation Store, you were going to lose access to it, no questions asked, no refunds given. However, after a huge firestorm of backlash, on December 21st, 2023, Sony put out an update stating that the removal was no longer occurring. Following that whole fiasco, Crunchyroll, which is an anime streaming service, decided to take their swing at things when they merged with Funimation, an animation dubbing and streaming company. On February 8th, 2024, it was announced that on April 2nd, 2024, they will be migrating Funimation subscribers into theirs with one massive caveat. You don't get to keep your digital library from Funimation, at least as of right now. Maybe they'll backtrack on that like Sony and Discovery did, but as of now, it looks like that's going to be a massive loss for people who build up libraries on a Funimation account, which those things go back years. And finally, we get to Adult Swim Games. Nobody is completely sure what's going to happen with this because of the wording Warner Bros. Games chose to use. This headline from Polygon sums it up. Quote, indie devs are being told their games will be retired from Steam and console stores, unquote. Nobody seems to be sure if that means they will still be accessible if you have already purchased them, or if they'll be completely removed from your library. And until Warner Bros. Games clears it up, we are all left guessing what the plan actually is. And it also seems some devs are left out to dry as well. Now later in the article, Polygon talks to a developer by the name of Michael Molinari, who says that a Warner Bros. Rep told him that his game would be removed from Steam. From the article, he says, quote, I pleaded with the rep to transfer ownership to my company as I still retain all IP and game rights. I sent him a link to the Steam's transfer page and explained clearly that it literally takes 3 clicks to transfer ownership to me. He rejected my request, unquote. However, they did say he could republish if he removed any mention of Adult Swim Games and edited the credits. He doesn't seem to want to do that because he wants to preserve what was there, but I guess that is an option that he does have. Now to me it seems really messed up. The guy asks if he can have ownership transferred and they say no. If they're gonna remove it and then at the same time tell him that he can republish it with edits, why not transfer ownership to him and let him and the other devs, if they also want to do this, patch the game once ownership is transferred to remove all the stuff they want removed? To me it makes no sense, but maybe there's some legal thing that prevents it. But from the outside, it just looks bad. It's horrible PR. Getting back to the dev in the article, I only skimmed over the article, so maybe I missed it, but I believe if it's completely removed from Steam and he re-uploads it, then the users would have to repurchase the game, assuming that he wanted to charge for it. And according to this article, there's only 3 games that are getting this treatment at the moment, but all the others in the Adult Swim games library may be getting the same treatment soon. So jumping back to PlayStation real quick. PlayStation had a widespread bug back in December 4th, 2023, where people had their accounts banned for no reason, and this prevented them from having access to their game libraries. I'm guessing Xbox, Nintendo, Epic, and Steam are similar. I've never been banned from any of them, so I don't know. But this brings up a slight issue. Nobody has their entire library downloaded on a hard drive, so if you lose access to the store because of a ban, then it seems like you're screwed. As someone who has a decently sized Steam library, it does worry me to some extent that games can just be yanked out of my library like that, or if something happens and I can't access my library, seems kind of fucked. But ultimately, what happens when Steam shuts down their servers, or PlayStation or Microsoft shuts down their game servers? Now for Steam, I've heard it said that they have a plan to somehow release everyone's libraries when that day comes. But honestly, companies say a lot of things to get people in the door without much follow through afterwards. Now how could this be addressed? I'm not big on government interfering with every little thing, but maybe we do need some laws passed that changes the way that software licenses work, so that you will always have access to the software you have purchased. Always online games and MMOs are in a weird place in this because they can't work without the servers being run, but that's a whole separate issue, to be honest. This is one issue that I hope can be addressed and relatively soon, because when it comes to user rights and software licenses, it's not looking great. You are essentially only leasing digital content rather than actually owning it. It's not fair to expect everyone to have terabytes of storage available to download all their libraries, but it is starting to feel like that may be the only thing we can do right now to safeguard them. And when it comes to legislation, maybe it'll be the EU that moves first on something like this, since they seem to be the only ones pushing these large companies to be more user-friendly, such as the data policies that the EU has implemented. With everything moving to fully digital, we're going to have more and more stories like this coming up, and it's going to reach a tipping point. When is that tipping point? Honestly, I don't know. We gotta do something before we reach that point. Anyway, that's all I've got for this video. If you made it to the end of the video, I appreciate you. Let me know what you think about this whole situation in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.